Radiomaster GX12. People are saying this is the best radio to ever enter FPV. I was kind of on that train too until we made some discoveries, and this is a bit of an urgent video. This will either make or break this for you. So you really need to see this if you're interested in this radio. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and let me tell you, the Radiomaster GX12, it is absolutely feature packed. Like, it has some of the best features we have ever seen in FPV. It felt like the holy grail, and you would have seen the internet absolutely loving this thing. So many videos came out a couple of days ago about the GX12, but mine was missing for some reason, and the simple answer was, even though I had my video there, I did some more testing with the help of Stickman Steve, and I was all on board. I love this thing. However, Steve discovered some things that are make or break. So if you are interested in this radio, you need to see this. As a bit of an overview, we're going to go through the features, what makes it so great, but the really important part that I can't stress enough, we're going to talk about who this radio is for, who it isn't for, and should you get one or should you upgrade to one. And I have to apologize to Radiomaster because, look, my review was ready, but the most important thing is just getting this information out there to the viewers. So I have since re-recorded this video so I could make this sort of special announcement. So anyway, let's get on with the overview of the GX12 and then talk about some of the findings why I personally absolutely love this radio, but some other people out there is some very big concerns. So as a bit of an overview, the big one about this, it's like a small, I would say, to mid-size radio. It fits very nicely in the hand. The big features we're going to talk about, it has an OLED screen, which is really bright. It's easy to see in the sunlight. We have, you'll notice there is two folding antennas on the top right here, which is outstanding. I love that, and they are also it is built in Gemini, which means it is basically doing what the Nomad can do. You can fly around on 900 megahertz. You can fly around on 2.4 gigahertz. You can also mix and match both of those at the same time. Gemini inbuilt here with ELRS is really powerful. I feel like that is the future of our hobby. It has some full metal CNC gimbals in here. They've got some great little features, like you can click them out, fold the stick ends down. I don't know if that's going to be coming in shot in the roof cam or folding them up. It makes it very easy to pack away. That's kind of how this whole radio feels. I feel like it is really well designed. If I turn it on right here, very quickly, it will take a really big battery in the back. Yours is not going to come with batteries, though mine did. You can fit the Radiomaster, I think it's the 5,000 milliamp hour pack in the back as well, so you should have absolute lipo powers for days. Nice big battery bay. You've got some position switches. Let me flick all these down. These here are quite special. You can program these buttons at the front to be either one channel or like multiple channels. It is very customizable. We of course got a metal scroll wheel right there, two pots, some other potentiometers up the top right here, and then a whole bunch of 3 position switches and 2 little momentary switches, so you can press them in to get your show which buttons are in. And I really like to, on the screen here, it's showing me exactly what button I've got pressed in and where that switch position is. Now, it does come with some little extras. You can change some of these top plates if you'd like to take out your pots and put some other switches in here. It's got a little, I guess, strap on the back. Sorry, my batteries are charging in the background. I'm about to go flying again. And also, we've got one USB port. And the last feature I want to mention is you do have a module bay on the back if you want to put in like a Crossfire or something. But the big one you're going to notice is when we go out and fly it. I am a thumbing pilot. I really like this radio. Like, I was ready to say this is the best radio we've ever had in FPV. And for me, in my circumstance, for $190, if you're coming into the hobby, I absolutely love it. But we're going to go fly around with Stickman Steve, and you're going to see his thoughts versus my thoughts, because this was something that I was not expecting, and that's why I've had to reshoot this video. So it might be a bit of make or break. Then we'll come back and we'll decide, should you get this radio? Is this for you? Is this the best radio in FPV? Should you upgrade to it, or is it not going to be suited to your flying style? If you pinch or if you thumb, you need to watch this part because it's a huge consideration when you're going to purchase a radio. I did notice straight away, like, I'm so used to having that latching switch on the back. I don't like that we've got these 3 position little toggly ones, but here we go. Now I'm going to try and focus on the radio as well, a little bit about the range, and I'm not going to be talking about the video or anything, even though you're going to see the DVR, but in the hands, it really feels like a solid radio as well. And I don't know if they're using some sort of new plastic or anything, but it feels very robust. It's quite a tightly packed little unit as well. There's a lot going on here. As far as the gimbals, let's do a couple of quick fast maneuvers. All right, so just checking out the gimbal tension, it does feel a little bit looser than say some of my stock ones on the pocket, but that's easily adjustable. You can simply open up the back little, the tension there. But yeah, look, I really like it in terms of a thumbing pilot. You're going to notice it a bit more over the pocket. It feels larger, and that's because it simply is a larger radio. But in the hands, I think as far as I go when it comes to thumbing something, it's great. I'm not having any complaints. My link quality is amazing the whole time that I'm out here. I'm not worried in the slightest. And I'm well out over here over the water.
I can't even see you.
Yeah. I wasn't really paying attention, and then I was like, oh wait, what's going on here? All right. But yeah, look, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. We're going to hand it over to Stickman Steve in a minute, see what he thinks. And I do really like how you can fold the antennas down as well. I think that's going to be huge when just throwing it in your backpack, especially if you're a lazy pilot like myself. Would I get this over the pocket? Probably if I didn't have any radio. Am I going to get it if I was after an upgrade? Well, that sort of comes down to, are you going to use Gemini more, or do you want to have maybe more milliwatts? Because at 1,000, well, I guess 1 watt, it's got a pretty sizable advantage over something like the Pocket's 350. My arm switch there, my disarm, and I'm going to have to flick that down. So I do really wish they'd just give us a couple of different options, because you do get some different plates, but no latching switches, unfortunately. How's that for landing?
That wasn't too bad, mate.
Okay.
It was not too bad.
All right.
You're getting better.
Let me unplug. I really liked it. I think the gimbals felt great. Something you might have not have seen, Steve, as well. You can actually pop these out if you need to fold them down.
Oh, folding, yeah, right.
As well. So a nice little addition right there. But look, overall, as a thumbing pilot, you've got no worries whatsoever. It's not as big as like those TX16s that we had a couple of years ago, which I feel are a hindrance to a thumbing pilot. But you pinch. So we'll hand it over to you, see what you think, and give you a flight.
Cool, man.
Stickman Steve, sorry we had some interruptions with the wildlife here, but first impressions, the GX, we're going to ignore that bird, the GX12.
GX12.
Yes.
Feels great. Honestly, like being a pincher, the way it sits in my hands is fine for the gimbals.
Yes.
But the way I hold a radio to pinch, this is just all in the way.
Okay.
It's all in the way. So I have seen that they've got some different plates you can put on and blank out buttons and do this and that.
Would you be doing that? Would you be removing all these switches?
I have to look at it, yep. Just for my comfortability.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it, when you're flying FPV drones, you don't need every single switch that a radio has to offer. So it's cool that it's on there, but I'm going to be blanking out 90% of them just to hold it properly.
Yep.
For me.
And
if you hold some weird lizard person like me and you hold your controller like this, then it's going to be an issue.
What do you think about the antenna?
Put it on a boxer.
You like it?
Yeah. Just get it out of the way.
All right, and we got some metal CNC gimbals as well, and like I showed you, those little, you can fold those down if you need to. You're going to be throwing it in.
Are they full CNC?
Yep, they are.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It doesn't feel like they're sort of loose.
No.
When they pop into position, they seem quite.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come out by an accident or anything as well.
Like they're magnetized.
Probably the other parts to mention as well, just a couple little housekeeping things. It can go up to 1 watt. You can put a module in the back. It's only got one USB port, which sort of does everything.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that's better as well. And then if you'd like to put your own antennas in, you can actually do that. If you don't like these, they've got these little plugs right here, which give you an option to screw in like your SMA connector. If you wanted to do a bit of work in the background to make your own antennas if you don't like these. Oh, and this is probably a big feature as well. These buttons right here.
All different colors.
Well, you can program them up to be different channels or one channel at different, I guess, different values. A whole bunch of things you can do in there. All right.
I think function and form feels great. A lot of people that thumb, I think, would prefer it. Honestly, I haven't flown it yet and I'm about to, but for me, I'm already apprehensive, like, oh God, this is going to get in the way.
You're worried about these switches at the back, yeah. Especially, that's my arm switch right there. So, okay, all right, let's go for a rip.
Good to go?
All right, you are clear, good to go. And he's away. First impressions, how are the gimbals?
Gimbals feel fine, quite light. Yeah, in terms of spring tension.
Yes.
Yeah, it can obviously change that.
Yeah, I felt the same as well, but yeah, on default out of the box.
Yeah, not too bad. I think the biggest thing for me, as I mentioned, is just the way it feels in the hands. You can see my fingers up here, just got all the buttons and switches in the way.
Yes.
I just don't like it for me.
So you need to change that as a pincher.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even still, just the angle of attack that they're on, sort of like up and down at the front of the radio, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They're not really in a good spot at all for me. But as far as performance goes, it's much as you'd expect from a full-powered Radio Master radio. It's going to do everything you want it to do. Especially with Gemini, it's just going to do anything you want.
That's sort of out of the box as well. You don't have to do any mods. You don't have to do any. It's rocking Gemini. If you want to put a Gemini receiver in there, it's good to go. If you want to bind up to 900 megahertz only, or you want to do 2.4, that's also no issue.
Yeah. So for the stuff that we do is going to be way more than we ever ask of it, which is nice though, right? For a similar price factor to anything else comparative on the market, you're going to get that reliability, that confidence in flying,
Yep.
Which is great. So the way things are coming, why not? Why not chuck a Gemini receiver in a brand new build if this is the radio that you choose to go with? Yeah, the gimbals are way too loose for me, and I don't like them tight, but just little things out of the box that are easy to change. That's my only gripe with it.
Yep, I think just looking here, I can see your fingers just on those little arm switches and things which people probably need to be mindful of if they're flying around with that.
I feel quite precarious having my hands this way.
Yep.
Something compared to the Boxer, which I know is a little bit bigger form factor, same power output and all that, only run a 2.4. The buttons in that and the switches are just perfect for me.
Do you think that's because you're used to it though? What about if you came in and you'd never flown before, or you didn't have a preference?
Well, I had a preference before that. I've had a couple of radios before the Boxer, and the Boxer just felt great as soon as I held it.
All right, yep.
Yeah, so it's not that I'm comparing it blindly, I guess, but knowing what I know and what I'm comfortable with now, sure. I mean, there could be some sort of tolerance for getting used to a new thing. Do I need to? No. Do I think this is for everyone? No. Pinching, it's kind of made me feel a little bit awkward, to be honest.
Yep.
Which gets in the way of your flying confidence,
It's ELRS as well and Radio Master. They've got a pretty good track record. I'm right there. I thought you dropped out then, watching you over there. I thought you were crashing.
It just doesn't feel comfortable for me, hey?
Down 3 foot, don't disarm. Disarm. Oh, did you try to land in this thing of water?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh,
I almost get it.
Yeah, you bounced off here. That would have soaked the whole drone. All right, let me just unplug. Stickman Steve, after your flights as a pinching pilot, what do you think?
As far as radio goes, it does everything you're going to want it to do. The range is going to be absolutely incredible. Penetration is going to be through the roof with Gemini. I haven't found a need to go that way yet. Having a dedicated radio that does it off the bat, why not? If you're in the market for a new radio or you're just starting out, only thing for me to be mindful and to pass on to others is, like, this is customizable.
Yeah, it does. It comes with a whole plate as well. Yep.
But for me as a pincher, it just felt awkward the whole time.
Yeah, all right.
It could get used to it.
You could put your arm switches here as well, but who wants to do that? Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
How am I going to do that?
Yes.
I think they've nailed a few things in terms of the antennas. Obviously dual band, so you have two, but even just one antenna that folds out the way would be great on a Boxer. The Pocket half nailed it with that fold down antenna. It's great. Packs away great. I think the layout is fine. Like, I mean, it's a radio. It's the last thing you're looking at when you're doing FPV, right?
Yep.
But the way it feels in my hand pinching, no, I would never.
You're not going to be buying it?
No.
Are you going to switch to this anytime soon? You're going to be upgrading, or what are you going to do?
I don't think I would, mate. I think the Boxer ticks most of the boxes for me in terms of the way it feels.
Yep.
Which is when you've got your goggles on and you're flying, however far away or doing whatever you do, you need that comfortable reliability in your hand. For me, this doesn't tick that box.
Yep.
So no, I'd stick with the Boxer. There's just, as always, a couple of things you'd want to add. So this radio, or from the Pocket or whatever, to the Boxer, I think that is a great platform.
The Radio Master GX12. Big shout out to Stickman Steve because, well, I should say a bit of complaining actually.
Yeah, sorry.
You made me do a little bit of extra work because I was all in on this radio. I thought this is the most feature-packed, which it is the most feature-packed radio we have ever seen.
Yep.
I loved it for the price and the gimbals and the Gemini folding antennas, OLED screens, programmable batteries, no latching switches though, which is something I would like to change, we'll talk about. But then you flew it, and this is why it was so important to get other people's impressions on the channel, because I'm a thumbing pilot. I want to give you the best information, and you've made me do more work, but I think the viewers can really appreciate it. So a big shout out here. Watching you fly this totally changed my mind on, I don't think this is the best radio to ever enter FPV. It is great for me, but that's not going to be a use case for everybody. And you're a pinching pilot, and there's a lot of pinching pilots out there.
I think as a pinching pilot, you want to be able to have just a nice smooth surface out the back, maybe a latching switch, that's where I use my arm. But having all this stuff in the way, it just really took away from my experience flying. It really did, like constantly worried about where my fingers are, get into a bit of a hairy spot and you grip it, you know.
And look,
want to hit a switch.
And you can change these plates out and put some other switches in, and they're not going to do latching switches. I wrote to Radio Master and they said, oh, not many people want that. So if you want latching switches, they told us to 3D print it. Put the comments down below. I would love a big latching switch, just one that I can put on the top. Mate. But even if that was there, would that still be kind of in the way of where your hand naturally rests as a pinching pilot?
I don't think so. I think having just one latching switch, it's just everything else. It's got a lot in it for a smaller form factor than the Boxer. The way the Boxer's layout is, you got all your critical switches up top.
Yeah, on the front face, the radio. Yeah.
But because this has been cut down shorter, you got them all right in the way where my big fingers go. So for me personally, no, I wouldn't be pursuing this radio anymore. Okay. It's been great to use. Yeah, it's got all the features, nice screen, awesome gimbals that fold out the way. But for me, no.
You're going to stick with the Boxer?
I'll stick with the Boxer for sure.
All right, and so that sort of wraps it up, I guess. Who should get this radio? If you fly around with your thumbs and you don't have a radio already, this is outstanding. It's going to be well future-proofed. You're going to have Gemini, like it really is everything you could ever want in a radio as a thumb pilot, like CNC gimbals. And for the price, 170 bucks, I think it is well worth that value. That's where I'd say best radio in FPV. If you're a pinching pilot, some really big considerations, especially because they don't do a proper latching switch. They're not going to do them. That sounds like it's going to be really in the way. I can't talk too much about that, but you wouldn't upgrade, or you wouldn't even want that from a Boxer. You would say it'd be like a downgrade for you. And the other one, if you already have a radio out there, maybe you've got the Radio Master Pocket, maybe you've got some of the other ones, you don't need to always buy the latest and the greatest. This is probably the big consideration as well. If you are thinking about getting this one, the real question is why? What is this going to let you do that you can't already do with your gear? Maybe you want to do long range, maybe you want to go to Gemini natively. Okay, there's a good use case. But if you've just got a little pocket radio, which is like 60 bucks and you're having a whole heap of fun with it, I don't think you're going to get too much more benefit out of something like this. So you don't want to be someone with all the gear and no idea. You want to have the gear that's great value that's going to get you the most out of FPV. So anyway, Steve, we've got some fun today. Let me grab this, let me show them. To go do some testing with this. So you've done a bit of a scratch build right here. We're going to be flying this around. That video should be up here somewhere. We've got to say thank you very much for this, because without your input, without us actually flying it and showing you what it's like, I would have done a disservice to you viewers. So if you appreciate that, drop some comments down below. And if you really like it, well, there is that Patreon there, which is like 12 cents a video for like $1 a month or something. Do it. Sign up to my Patreon. It will help me out. It might one day help Steve out too. So you wouldn't get it?
Nah, definitely not.